Okay, the Rey movie. It's still happening, but is it though? We're going to get into it. A lot of comments, a lot of rumors, a lot of weird shit happening when it comes to the Rey movie. Remember, I think it was just last week, Bob Iger said we're quietly canceling some movies. And then do you remember when a lot of us said, well, the obvious one to do is the Rey movie? By the way, if you do want the Rey movie canceled, throw a 1 into the chat. I'm just interested. Okay, so let's get into this because Daisy Ridley did actually make some new comments about the whole situation, and there is an article / new rumor suggesting that the movie is actually canceled, which is interesting. Okay, so let's read through this article and go through the updates here, and then I'll go over the other article, which again is claiming that the movie's canceled and nobody told Daisy Ridley. And look, would that be crazy? Yes. Would I feel bad for Daisy? Sure. But I'd also be celebrating like the goddamn Ewoks at the end of Jedi. Okay, anyway, Daisy Ridley says new Jedi Order could start filming either late 2024 or early 2025. Will read script eminently. Oh boy. Daisy Ridley is currently at the South by Southwest Film Festival promoting her new movie Magpie and naturally getting waves of Star Wars questions in light of her return to the franchise as announced last year at Star Wars Celebration. After recent rumors of a major title change from the once announced new Jedi Order, Collider asked Ridley about the final name of the movie and whether or not it's changed. She gave this incredibly clear answer here. I don't know. I mean, I think so from the announcement. I don't think that's changed. Ridley also confirmed that she hasn't read a script yet, but that's about to change. I know a script is happening, and I'm going to be reading it eminently, which is very exciting, she added. In terms of when this could be shooting, Ridley said that it's either at the end of this year or at the beginning of 2025. Oh man, here we go. I think it could be this year. It could be, but I'm not sure. I think, to be honest, the writer's strike has obviously delayed quite a lot of things. So the intention was later this year. Hopefully, it will be. Otherwise, top of next, I would imagine. Okay, let's keep going here. The story will involve a lot of new characters, she told Deadline, adding that she doesn't know about returning ones yet. And as far as the possibility of Rey having children, she dismissed the possibility by saying, I would say she probably doesn't have children, seeing she's a Jedi. I would say she probably doesn't have children, saying that she's a Jedi. Interesting. The story will follow Rey training a new generation of Jedi in a time known before the new Jedi era. She will be the new Jedi Master 15 years after the rise of Skywalker. She knows bits and bobs about the story beyond what's been publicly announced and did tell Den of Geek that her approach to mentoring a new generation would be different than Luke's. I would say, from what I understand, yes. Short answer. Okay, so a couple of different things to unpack. First of all, I find this to be so interesting that she would comment about the children. There's not a lot of people even talking about this rumor. In fact, I think I'm the only one. And the video that I made about it didn't even get a lot of views. Like, people care so little about the Rey movie that I don't even think people were checking that out to really figure out what was going on there. So I find that to be odd and weird that they would even ask about her having children. Unless I'm missing something, is there other people talking about this rumor? Or is Frosty literally like subtweeting me in interviews with Daisy Ridley to talk about a rumor that I have heard? Because that's what I think is going on. So, I would say she probably doesn't, seeing as she's a Jedi, but then under here, she does say that the Jedi will be different than the way that Luke's was. By the way, I don't know that she is going to have children in the movie. This is just one little rumor that I heard that happens to fit in with a lot of other rumors that we're currently hearing about the film, okay? So let's just kind of leave that one there, all right? Also, about the, I don't know. I think so. From the announcement, I don't think that's changed. That's not like great. It's not really a clarifying answer here. And then, of course, I think maybe the most important part of the whole report and the story of this movie itself she has not read the script. Okay, so she hasn't read the script, and she expects to read the script imminently. Again, the TLDR on this whole thing with the Rey movie is that it was a completely different movie being made by Damon Lindelof. They fire him, change it, bring in Daisy Ridley. Daisy Ridley was not even going to be in Damon Lindelof's version. You were going to have Daisy in her, or rather the Rey character, as a very old woman handling all of this sort of stuff. They've changed it. Steve Knight is doing it now, and he does not have a finished script, okay? So all of this stuff that we've been hearing about, they're casting, they're building sets, they've hired Daisy Ridley probably. I don't know if they've paid her yet, but they've agreed to pay her a buttload of money, and they don't even have a script, okay? So let's talk about this new article here, right? Because there is the possibility here, and this is over on the World of Real. And one of the reasons I want to bring this up is because not only do I think it could actually be real, but Jeff Snyder has hinted recently in the podcast that maybe some stuff about the Rey movie that's being reported is not true. Okay. And Aaliyah was the person that brought this to my attention. A lot of us are starting to believe that this movie actually could be canceled. Let's read this article. Has the Star Wars / Rey movie been quietly scrapped by Disney? This past January, I posted about my sources telling me that Disney's Daisy Ridley starring Rey movie, potentially titled New Jedi Order and directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, has been delayed indefinitely by the Mouse House. Okay, so this is the person that first reported this. Interesting. Now, I never said that it was never going to happen. I just implied that the pause button had been pushed by Disney CEO Bob Iger and that we wouldn't be seeing much development on this film in the near future. Okay, well, Empire City, who have been right with their intel rumors numerous times, are backing me up here, but also going one step further by claiming that the film has actually been totally scrapped by Disney and that Ridley has yet to be told about the decision. I keep hearing that one of the projects that Bob Iger and Disney mentioned this week that they have been quietly killed off but haven't made public is in fact the Rey movie. They haven't even told Daisy Ridley. If you remember, last week, Iger confessed that an investor called that he had privately killed a few projects, none of which have been made public yet. The many issues with this project initially seemed to reside in creative differences between screenwriter Steve Knight and Lucasfilm. That's another thread that we haven't even talked about. Apparently, the last script that he turned in, they hated so much that he has to basically rewrite it from scratch. That was reported, I believe, by Bespin Bulletin. It was somebody in the game, somebody that's reliable, right, was talking about that. Initially, Bespin, by the way, was backing up the reports that the Rey movie had been delayed indefinitely. Remember? He got a lot of heat for bringing it up. But he said, like, I've listened to this person before. I think they're actually reliable. Just kind of walked it back because there were other people saying, no, it hadn't been delayed indefinitely. But I do remember that. I remember also a lot of insiders kind of commenting on this and being like, well, yeah, he did turn in a script that they hated. And yeah, he is probably really frustrated. But he's probably going to stick it out and continue to write it. Because there was some people reporting that it had gotten so bad that Knight was going to leave the project, right? He was like, done. I believe that's kind of the timetable on all of that, okay? So, if you remember, so the many issues, here we go. To make matters worse, there is the possibility that Knight might not be staying on board the project. His frustrations have grown, so he's put the Star Wars on the back burner and is now focused on his Peaky Blinders movie, which is supposed to go into production this fall. That was the report, okay? These issues with Knight come only 2 years after development on the film started, and various drafts had circulated with different writers, included Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt Gibson, who were partners. They worked together. Both eventually exiting the untitled Rey Skywalker project. Knight came on board soon after. Now, I wouldn't be surprised, and Empire City is hinting at this, if part of the decision to supposedly scrap the Rey movie has to do with the comments from Obaid-Chinoy, all of which went viral, including one where she proudly explained that her goal was to make men uncomfortable, and another where she stated, it's about time that a woman shaped the Star Wars movie, completely unaware of Princess Leia. Obaid-Chinoy's background in feminist nonfiction filmmaking, so it shouldn't come as much of a surprise that she said this. It's a passion of hers, then so be it. Make as many men uncomfortable as you want. But Star Wars fans are primarily male and will likely be turned off from buying a ticket for Obaid-Chinoy's upcoming film. Okay, so that's the report over at World of Real. And to clarify, it is Empire City that is saying right here, I keep hearing that one of the projects Bob Iger is mentioned last week that he quietly killed off is the Rey movie. Okay, so let's talk about this. What does it mean? Well, even if they don't cancel it, a lot of the news that's coming out about the movie is not exactly making me excited. It's not exactly making me feel like, oh shit, we got something here. Can't wait. They've really been cooking, right? I think the story of Star Wars over the last several years has been that of ineptitude. They just keep holding L's, fumbling the bag, just being super out of touch. And Star Wars itself is in something of a tailspin, as is Disney. If you consider some of the problems that are facing Disney right now, and you consider some of the rumors we've been hearing, even when it comes to Marvel, and the fact that Marvel, and maybe this is because of Bob Iger, have maybe pivoted away from some of the stuff that they were going to be doing in the name of representation, the stuff that everybody likes to call woke, all that kind of stuff. It does appear from the outside looking in that Disney is adjusting. They are, at least when it comes to Marvel, perhaps walking away from some of those decisions and just doing stuff maybe a little bit more male focused. This is true of some Marvel Studios stuff. It's also true of some Sony stuff as they came in for the, what's the Cindy Moon character? Silk, right? They came into the Silk show. They fired everybody except the showrunner, and they're remaking it for a male perspective, from the male perspective, okay? So there seems to be this kind of wave happening at the studios where they're just going away from the more aggressively progressive stuff, which, by the way, like, your mileage may vary on how you feel about that, but I think if you're just thinking in terms of business, it makes sense. I mean, you kind of can't deny that that wave has become detrimental to a lot of different brands. It's not always the case. You can look at things like Barbie, Super Mario Brothers, The Boys, and very progressive things that are very successful. But I do think there have been a number of brands, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Marvel, a lot of brands that have sort of leaned pretty heavily into, progressive messaging and trying to attract audiences like, a female audience or, LGBT or whatever, right? Just kind of trying to expand the horizons of the brand to the detriment of the core fan base. That is happening as well, right? So it's really interesting to hear all of these rumors when it comes to the Daisy Ridley thing. You have a couple of things working against this movie. Number one, all of that woke shit, basically, that we just talked about. I think if you're Bob Iger, you're probably kind of on the lookout for things of that nature and being like, maybe we don't need to go that aggressive. Maybe we don't need to do that. Maybe we should kind of pull it back. So I think the movie has that going against it. The movie also just has very real production woes. This is yet again another Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars project that can't seem to find itself. And I've told you guys this many different times in many different ways. I follow this shit closely for a job, and following every bit of the Rey movie from the past 3 to 4 years, I guess just 3, has been horrible. Like, it just seems like a total and complete mess, and they don't even have a script. To this day, they have Daisy Ridley. They are building sets. They're working on tax write-offs. They don't even have a script. So number one, you've got kind of like the countercultural, maybe let's pull back on the woke shit thing going against the movie. You also just have nuts and fucking bolts. This shit ain't going well. Spending a bunch of money. Not good. I think another thing working against this movie is the fact that I don't think a lot of people want this movie. Okay, I know there's a contingent of folks on social media that are going to clamor for this movie, try to explain how excited they are about it. I just don't think that's backed up statistically. I don't think people really care about the Rey movie. And so I think you have all three of those factors kind of working against the movie. Where basically, I would not be shocked personally if Bob Iger did pull the plug. And I know that would be shocking and maybe like a really crazy fucking story. But at the end of the day, we would sort of mourn for Daisy. You could still do stuff with Daisy later, right? Just don't make a whole fucking Rey movie that's not a start of a trilogy. Like, what the fuck? So I think there's a potential here that they would do it. There would be a short period of like, oh, shucks, that's too bad. And then I'm pretty sure most of us would just get over it and we'd get excited for the next project. So I don't know, man. Bad updates. Potentially the movie will be delayed indefinitely or canceled. That's kind of what's going on out there. So there's your updates.